18 years old or 23 years old. They will not care if they have the money to put on the counter to pay for their whiskey, gin, rum, brandy, vodka, or whatever they want to buy. I'm going to tell you that I thoroughly believe that they will get the liquor. This will at least give a little safety, a little control over the purchase of liquor by children.
No amount of legal controls in the world, we believe, can make them respectable or law-abiding. Now, my reference to pig washing in the paper where I was quoted had nothing to do with individuals. I'm talking about the law. You cannot clean up a liquor law to make the dries like it. And that's what I want you to understand, that we're not out here to try to tell you how you can write this law and make us like it. You can't write this law and make us like it. Now, I don't believe that you're likely to do it, but if you would set the hours from 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon and say they can just be open 1 to 2 in the afternoon, you know, that would just suit us fine. And then if you'd cut that down to from 1 o'clock to 1:15, why, that'd suit us better. The Oklahoma Publishing Company will not accept any hard liquor advertising, regardless of how the legislature may twist or distort the Constitution. Now, I say I've never met Mr. Gaylord. I've never had a conversation with him in my life. But I say that he has written just what I would like to have had the power to write on the front page of his paper.
Then he says that he intends to familiarize, he's just a citizen who intends to familiarize myself, and I quote, with some of these aspects of city government. Now, I think that's an admirable statement. I think he ought to familiarize himself with the aspects of city government. And when he doesn't know anything about them, I think he ought to keep his mouth shut until he gets familiarized with certain aspects of the city government. Then he says here that all these things, these trusts, everything can be done under trust. If this is true, we won't even have to have any more bond issues. Well, I wonder if he's trying to convince somebody that we ought to have more bond issues than we have and raise our taxes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm certainly willing to do anything we possibly can to keep from raising the ad valorem tax through bond issue or anything, any other type of taxes. And if Mr. Bull is trying to convince me that I ought to raise my taxes when it's not necessary, he's got a big job.
It's an emergency under the circumstances and must be done, whether it's done this way or under another arrangement. And in this case, the city becomes beneficiary, has considerable advantage, and ultimately will be part of our system. Therefore, we can keep the proper controls. The thing is to be paid for by those who use it, not by the general citizenry of Oklahoma City, and will turn to the city upon its completion of being paid for. The background is known by our own city engineer, but I don't hesitate as city manager to recommend this be done.
Well, I'm rather surprised at Mr. Burba. Last night when I met with the council, they're very courteous. I'm surprised that anybody would criticize me severely in my absence today because they knew I would not be present this morning. That's the reason I appeared before them last night.
What is behind your concern over using trust for civic improvements?
Well, I believe that if the trust is continued as a means of erecting public improvements, very soon we will have no general bond issues. I am concerned because only a few contractors, architects, and engineers are being used in these projects. Also, I believe very strongly in competitive bidding in connection with public works, and we are not having any competitive bidding in connection with these trust matters. Trust method of public financing causes higher interest rates. The interest rates amount to some 5 to 7%, whereas the interest rate on the normal general issue bond is somewhere around 4%. I am surprised that the council does not see fit to give me or the public the time to examine public instruments of great importance before they sign them. It seems to me that 3 days' notice on a matter which they have been considering for months and which involves the reading and digesting of a 100-page typewritten instrument is too short notice.
Just why do you feel that the city should maintain such tight control over these so-called self-liquidating bonds?
Well, in the first place, I doubt if any of them are really what you call entirely self-liquidating bonds, unless they work out exactly as they plan them. The city, in every one of these trust matters, has made a valuable contribution, either of money or property or commodities which the city owns. Now let me give you an example. In the so-called water trust, where they've taken over water systems, they have committed the city's water supplies, which we have spent millions of bond dollars for, to the retirement of these water trust bonds. Now in the case of the FAA, the city committed, if necessary, all of the revenues from all of the airports which the city owns today or may acquire in the future, and from all improvements that may be erected on those airports now or in the future. Those revenues are committed when necessary to retire the FAA bonds, and therefore cannot be committed to any general issue bond voted by the people. And to that extent, it will cause any general issue bond voted by the people to bear a higher rate of interest because the security back of the general bond issue will be reduced.
compare the overall payroll costs of the state as of January 12th and now, anytime they or anyone else wants to compare them, because it'll show in the departments where we've been able to work substantial reductions in the total payrolls. Now, naturally, first of all, I don't know what instances they're talking about or have reference to, but naturally, in an economy move or a retrenchment move, you would have some instances where you could let one person or two people off and hire one to replace better qualified, and you'd give him a better salary than you had given either one of the two. But you still would have an overall reduction in costs to the state. Well, I'll put it this way. Certainly there have been some replacements in the state payroll since January the 12th. And I think everyone knows that. No question about it.
Well, the whole point of the discussion was that the replacements have come on at higher salaries.
I don't know of any instances of that.